Good evening and welcome to the 6:30 p.m. newscast on My Media Prime Television, coming to you live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. It is a presentation of Macdella, Eyong, Bisong. We begin the story in Buea, where the regional hospital of Buea has played host to victims of road accidents over the past 2 weeks since around December 2nd, 2022. Our reporter Emanuela C. had a chat with the hospital's director and brought this for us.
It is another time of the year, the festive period, where everyone is busy, mostly described as the rush hour of December. This period involves a lot of movements, with families traveling in and out of the city. In less than 14 days, 11 persons have lost their lives to road accidents, while others are battling for their lives in different hospitals around. Dr. Mukake Martin is the director of the Boyo Regional Hospital. He paints the situation on ground at his hospital.
There's been a series of them from the 2nd of December right up till yesterday, where we had the most fatal of them all. And counting, we have been able to record up to 11 deaths within a period of 2 weeks around the same vicinity, around the same areas.
And to those who survived, he adds that one of them is in critical condition with unpredictable chances of survival.
About chances, I never tell you the chances, because sometimes when you think that someone is not going to make it, he makes it, and sometimes when you're so hopeful, they may not. So we would keep working as if we are losing everything, and we'll keep hoping as if we are gaining everything to make sure that he gets out of it and he gets to the.
He continued by advising drivers and passengers to be watchful and pray more during this period.
Well, I think that those who bought the cars will just need to pray, because they may not have much influence on what happens. But for the drivers and their cars, usually the cars may not be in very good condition and we keep managing them. Maybe the drivers are not in good shape, they may be a little bit sick, they may be tired, they may be under the influence of alcohol or any other thing maybe. And sometimes all of those conditions may be absent. The passengers are wonderful, the car is wonderful, the driver is wonderful. But whenever you drive, you consider any other driver to be mad.
Looking at the scrapped vehicles parked at the side of the road, analyses have been made to reckless driving of drivers and poor visibility of the respective areas. Authorities advise that drivers should service their vehicles and adjust all lamps in order to effectively ply the roads.
Councillors of the WOM Council in the Mainstream Division of the Northwest Region have voted the sum of 998,500,000 CFR as WOM Council budget for 2023. The budget christened that of local development and youth empowerment. WOM Council Mayor Zingambong Anthony, who doubles as the first vice president of the UCC, acknowledged the budget will go a long way to develop the community. Charles Kebwa reports from Bamenda.
The WOM Council budget for 2023 voted by councillors in a council budgetary session December 15, 2022 in WOM balances in revenue and expenditure to the tune of 998,500,000 FCFA.
As I said from the beginning, if you see what is just coming from BIP, it's a budget of 998,500,000. Out of that, about 450 million is going to come from the state budget. The council has revenue. This year, the local revenue is getting to already 30 million. And with all what we are seeing around, with all what we have put in place, we are not going to have less than 100 million raised from local revenue.
Addressing councillors, WOM Council Mayor Zingambong Anthony, who doubles as first Vice National President of the United Councils and Cities of Cameroon, said the 2023 budget of the WOM Council will go a long way to develop WOM municipality, as well create jobs and empower youth through different development programs.
We are going to employ youths who will be able to transfer far west from town to Bijam to our town side. We will transform them into compressed air bricks, into big bed bricks and so on. So we are going to create a lot of employment. We have the stores in the market that we have been constructing for the past year. We have a restaurant and a rest house that we're going to construct. We have schools and we have bridges.
Christian, the budget of local economic development and youth empowerment, the mayor thanked councillors and staffs for their collaboration expressed concern about the security challenges in Wum municipality, with him being a victim said had forgiven those who burned his house if it was for peace to reign in the Wum municipality. Menchum First Assistant SDO representing the administration, Ndemanu Fabrice, during the budgetary session urged the people of Wum municipality and its environment to love one another, develop the municipality and Menchum division.
Over 500 vulnerable children, including young single mothers and internally displaced persons, have received Christmas gifts from an organization known as Nouvelle Femme Dynamique Africaine. The ceremony took place yesterday in Douala as in the presence of some government officials who applauded the efforts of the women's movement for the underprivileged. Our reporter Julian Ndambi was there and brought back the following report.
It was a day of joy as a group of women known as Nouvelle Femme Dynamique Africaine in a grand ceremony presented a giant Christmas tree full of gifts for over 500 orphans, including internally displaced women and girls from the Northwest and Southwest region. Speaking to the press, Madame Valérie Tréjou, Nouvelle Femme Dynamique Africaine president, states that the ceremony is one very dear to the organization. The objectives of this association is to take the abandoned child and give them a good life as our own kids at home. It is also going to help the dynamic woman out of her difficulties and become a leader. The event that took place yesterday, December 18, 2022, at Mission de Parti Bonanjo, and was presided over by the representative of the Senior Divisional Officer for Wuri, is in its 4th edition.
À l'occasion de cette cérémonie organisée par les Nouvelles Femmes Dynamiques Africaines, qui ont cru bon.
For the occasion, organized by Nouvelle Femme Dynamique Africaine, who thought it right, as tradition demands, to bring joy to orphans and abandoned women and IDPs from the conflict zones who ran from secessionist attack. The government, and I representing the head of states, has placed human interest at the center of social projects, and that is why we have accepted with joy to support the initiative. For these kids and women, just like the representative of the Ministry of Social Affairs said, all hopes is not lost. Also present at the event was the Senior Inspector of Social Affairs, Dile Dorothy, who says the initiative by Nouvelle Femme Dynamique Africaine is a laudable one, as it greatly supports the intervention of public authorities and contributes to facilitate the access to basic social services to vulnerable children, women and girls, especially young single mothers.
Government cannot do everything on its own. We always work with the civil society and associations like this one. And we want to say we are really very happy with the activities, with the objectives of this association. Because by turning a hand, especially to orphans and single mothers from the Northwest and Southwest region, they are bringing the humanitarian support to the less privileged.
The beneficiaries received gifts which comprise of shoes, clothes and food items. Madame Nathalie Ngunu, a member of Nouvelle Femme Dynamique Africaine, recounts that the women-led philanthropic organization with headquarters in Douala is committed to promoting female entrepreneurship amongst other development and humanitarian endeavors for African women in Africa.
In Femme Dynamique, we train ladies how to be business entrepreneurs.
Indeed, solidarity is a duty that is expressed in several ways and requires skills that each individual is able to possess and share. No one is poor enough not to show solidarity, and no one is rich enough to do without the solidarity of others. Share love and show love always.
Many thanks to you, Julian Dambi, for that report. Within the framework of celebration marking its second anniversary, the Gang Victors Foundation has extended a hand of a fellowship to some widows, IDPs, internally displaced persons, and underprivileged persons, as well as orphans in the Lum and the Nkombe division in the Mongo region, division of the Littoral region. Joy Ngong and Christian Tebong reports from Kombe.
Welcome to you, we say welcome to you.
Rice, salt, dresses, soap, and many more. These are the items the Gang Victors Foundation distributed to the over 200 orphans, widows, and less privileged people in the Mongo division of the Littoral region. From Lum to Nkombe, the executive president of the foundation says it gives him joy and satisfaction to support the needy, the less privileged, orphans, widows, and the young girls.
It's all about a love that I decided to carry out this initiative to assist the underprivileged kids, the widows, the orphans, the internally displaced persons, and those with desperate cases.
It is a yearly rendezvous with specific items distributed.
We have been going into this for 2 years today, and today actually is the second anniversary for Gang Victors Foundation. And it's all about sympathy that I felt the presence of widows who are being sidelined in a society. That's why I decided that I need to come in and step in to see how I can assist them in my own small way.
Even though raising funds for this gesture to be fulfilled is quite a difficult task, the executive president of the foundation says he won't relent his efforts to source fundings to continue this well-saluted initiative and appeals for people of good faith and will to support the foundation.
It's not going to end here. It's a continuation, and that is why the second anniversary. Next year we're going to choose another place. In the month of May, we have the sanitary pad project, the Red Dot project, to give sanitary pad to young girls. It is an initiative that is not going to die. It's going to continue in all the 10 regions of Cameroon. And I cannot do this alone. That is why I call on personalities all over the world, the country, to join me in this gesture so that we can continue to assist people in our country, Cameroon.
To the happy recipients of the gifts, their emotions could be seen on their faces.
Since my mother died now 13 years today, I never ever see anything where some man give me like this one. So I appreciate what way Mr. Gang Victor did do. Because the white eye for some of we where we not even get boy picking for help, we will not get massa again. Just imagine for 13 years.
I can say that thank you for the things that they give me because I never be aware that I have those type of things.
The Gang Victors Foundation, which is a humanitarian structure, has continued to put smiles on the faces of the less privileged, widows, orphans, and young girls in the northwest, littoral, southwest, and central regions of the country.
About 200 internally displaced women in Douala have benefited material supports from the Njangana BIP project of My Media Prime TV's Allo Kondre program. This was during the second edition of the project's outreach program, which took place on December 18, 2022 in Bonabome, Douala 4 municipality. Let's get details in the following report, compiled by our reporter Nubu Naivona.
It is Christmas, the season of love, merriment, gifts, most especially sharing. To this regard, the second edition of the Njangana Beef Project, which is poised with assisting internally displaced women, provided sanitary pads and other didactics to IDP mothers to better their living conditions. The event took place yesterday, December 18, 2022, in Bonabome, a neighborhood in the Douala 4 municipality of the Littoral region, where internally displaced persons are camped. Over 200 IDP women benefited from the humanitarian gesture championed by the team of Njangana Beef, led by My Media Prime TV's Allo Contre presenter Chris Toby. Aside the distribution of sanitary pads to these women, the team also donated a variety of foodstuffs, clothing, water purifying tablets, just to name a few, which will ameliorate living conditions of the IDP mothers. It should be noted Njangana Beef was born from Allo Contre program that airs on My Media Prime TV every Saturdays from 3 to 4:30 p.m. and is rebroadcast on Tuesdays from 9:30 p.m. The program once had on set some of these IDP women based in Douala, during which they explained their plight, how they became IDPs, how they were gang raped by men in military attire, and one of them delivered of triplets, with the father still unknown for 6 years now. These challenges attracted the reaction and help from televiewers and the creation of the project Njangana Beef with the objective of helping IDP mothers. The maiden edition of this project held December 23, 2021, while this year's edition, which held December 18, targeted 75 IDP women, but reached out to almost 200 who graced the occasion and went back with smiles on their faces. The event ended with beneficiaries expressing gratitude to their donors and both teams looking forward to a more joyous third edition come 2023.
The Development Committee of the City of Ebone-Mongo Division of the Littoral Region of Cameroon has opted for projects aimed at enhancing the community. This was during a meeting chaired by the President of the Development Committee, George Christol Manon, and other authorities in the area. Catherine Kongwe completes the story.
The meeting, which is aimed at enhancing development in the City of Ebone-Mongo Division of the Littoral Region of Cameroon, saw the presence of George Christol Manon, President of the Development Committee of the city, and other elites in the area. Life is all about being committed to small things, then bigger things can be committed into your hands. If you are unable to reach out to a brother or sister in need, it is not in big projects that you will be able to participate. Akweba called on us all to put our hands together and be involved in the development of our community. However, with the expectations being enormous, the President proceeded to enlist the material and finance needed for the building of a water fountain, which comes in to solve the problem of drinking water, which has always been a major concern for the people of Ebone locality.
C'est un appel du cœur que nous voulons lancer.
This is a clarion call that each and every one of us should get involved in what we are doing, because on our own we won't be able to achieve much, as there is a saying that a single hand can tie a bundle.
De tous les enfants d'Ebonais est attendu pour que son essor soit une effectivité.
In the presence of the divisional officer of Nolako, Elanga Abini Afons, the sons and daughters of Ebone have entrusted to the Lord all their futuristic projects and asked for peace, health, and strength to be able to live up to expectations.
The World Health Organization states non-communicable diseases are the leading cause of death worldwide and represent an emerging global health threat. Bokengo Worthy has details.
Every 2 seconds, someone dies from non-communicable diseases worldwide. These include cancer, asthma, hypertension, chronic lung disease, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, mental health disorder, chronic kidney disease, cognitive impairment, obesity, neurodegenerative disease, cataracts, and more, accounting for an estimated 74% of all global death cases, a number that is on the rise, stated by the World Health Organization.
Every year, 17 million people under the age of 70 die of non-communicable diseases. Most live in low and middle-income countries. Most of these deaths are preventable, treatable, and manageable.
With most of these health conditions being highly preventable, Dr. Tedros and team encourages countries to invest in their healthcare services so as to help combat non-communicable diseases.
WHO calls on all countries to invest to protect their people and their economies from NCDs. Nearly 7 million lives could be saved by 2030 if low and lower middle income countries invested an additional $1 per person per year on cost-effective interventions like graphic warnings on cigarette packaging, food labeling, and bicycle lanes.
With non-communicable diseases being a group of health conditions that are born from acute infections, resulting in long-term health complications, regular checkup at the hospital becomes a priority, together with physical exercises, eating healthy, balanced diet, as well as early diagnosis at the hospitals, so as to help reduce prevalence and global burden borne by non-communicable diseases worldwide.
Argentina have been crowned champions of the 2022 FIFA World Cup just ended in Qatar after outsmarting France yesterday on post-match penalties by 4 goals to 2. This becomes Argentina's third World Cup title as France failed to get it back-to-back. Let's get full details in the following report. The 2022 edition of the FIFA World Cup in Qatar